Hey.
All right, welcome back to the Box Score Watching channel. Today we are diving back into our scouting reports for the upcoming NBA draftees. If you've missed my other videos so far, we've done one for Caleb Wilson, we just did one for Keaton Wagler, and today we're taking a trip to Louisville to check out their freshman phenom point guard, Mikel Brown Jr. Like a lot of the players in this lottery, there is a whole lot to like about Mikel Brown Jr. One of the things that immediately was, just hit me in the side of the head, especially after watching a ton of Illinois games for Keaton Wagler. Watching Louisville was a breath of fresh air. They run a very NBA stylized offense where they incorporate their big, a lot of handoffs, a lot of zoom actions. They actually push the pace and try and score in transition, which was beautiful for my eyes to see. Numbers that stand out, had a lot of usage. Ball was in his hands for a whole bunch of these Louisville games. From there, you can see that his 3-point rate was extremely high, 0.59. He was taking 15.2 per 100 possessions, which is absolutely insane. He did not shy away from shooting threes at all. Anytime he was given even just a tiny little bit of space, he was not afraid to let it fly, which, despite the fact that he was only a 34% shooter this season, not great, but as everyone always says when it comes to draft prospects, the free throw percentage is usually a good indicator that if that's good, they're usually going to be able to shoot at some point in their career. So, with it being at 84%, that seems to be a very good sign that once you get to the NBA, even with a deeper line, I think the 3-point shot's going to be fine. Plus, as we've been seeing with some of these new age point guards in the NBA, the real ideal comparison that sticks out to me is LaMelo Ball, who this season didn't shoot the three ball that efficiently, but because he shot so many and because he's just such a threat to get hot and rain a bunch of threes on you, even if he's not hitting at a high clip, the defense has to respect the fact that he's going to shoot those shots. We saw in the playing games that it just opens up so much for your offense when the defense has to come out and guard you past the 3-point line. So I think Mikel Brown's going to be fine in that area. Checking back in on the stats, one last thing, he averaged only 4.7 assists per game, which might seem low, and it is a little low, but that is not at all indicative of how special of a playmaker Mikel Brown Jr. is. If you watch my last video, I felt a little bad saying that Keaton Wagler was a good, not great playmaker, but after watching a couple of games of Mikel Brown and his passing abilities, it makes me feel a bit vindicated in that if you watch those two players back to back like I did, there are very stark differences in how great of a playmaker each one is. And again, that's not a knock on Keaton Wagler. Like I said in that video, he's a score first, pass second kind of guy, whereas Mikel Brown, I don't want to say he's more of a pass first, score second kind of guy, but he is just way more, uh, just way better at creating opportunities for his teammates and actually like playmaking for them and not just passing the ball and getting assists, if that makes sense. Specifically, what I mean by that, as I'll run some clips for you here, is that, the one thing that's really easy to see is that Mikel Brown Jr. is great at using his eyes to manipulate the defense to open up passing lanes that were not there on his initial drives or dribbles or whatever. And this is the type of advanced playmaking that again makes Mikel Brown such a special passer to me, because things like manipulating defense with your eyes or creating passing lanes by just doing various things on the basketball court that seem abnormal, all of these things are traits that just you can't really teach those kinds of things. You kind of just have it or you don't. Even just the way that he's able to contort his body on drives to the rim. He's really great at using his left hand, even though he is a right-handed player. Great using that left hand on skip passes. He can, wrap assists around defenders. There's just a lot of plays that he had in the handful of games I watched that really wowed me as a passer. And again, it's why I mean, obviously I haven't looked at every prospect in this draft, but I'd have to imagine Mikel Brown Jr. at the end of the day is one of, if not the best playmaker in the entire draft. Because even outside of all the flashy stuff, even when you just get down to the basics, like just pick and rolls and making the first and second and even tertiary reads, he nailed all those things as well. He can do the simple stuff. He can do the advanced stuff. He can do it all as a passer playmaker. I wouldn't even be surprised, if he day one joins an NBA team and is already the best passer playmaker on that squad. And then one little niche thing that I especially loved about him in this area is there were a whole bunch of times where opposing teams would score points, make a shot, make a free throw, and Mikel Brown would just immediately push the pace and fling the ball up the court to an open teammate. If you're a defense and you're playing him, you have to get back, you have to be set, you have to be on your best behavior because if you're not, he's not afraid to unleash full court passes to try and beat the defense down the court. In fact, that's part of his whole MO. I think it's a part of the reason why Louisville is such a great team this year is because they were just constantly pushing the pace. It reminds me a lot of Tyrese Halliburton, the year when the Indiana Pacers broke out. Um, that he was just constantly pushing pace, passing the ball up the court, creating opportunities for his teammates. Regardless, as I always say with the comparisons, it doesn't mean he's going to be that player word for word, bar for bar, but I think it's good to help you get a general sense of the kind of player that Mikel Brown is. And I say all this to give my final point with the playmaking that I do think that there is definitely a chance that Mikel Brown Jr. could transform an entire team's offense just by adding him to the roster. Very similar to how Halliburton did with the Pacers, or in a somewhat different regard, how LaMelo did for Charlotte. Now, as for a few areas of concern for Mikel Brown Jr., the one thing offensively that he doesn't quite have is a mid-range game, which isn't the end of the world. The mid-range is kind of like a Schrodinger's cat type thing in the NBA right now. He's really great at getting to the rim. He's got great speed. He's got great burst. He absolutely kills bigs on switches. Even when he just has opposing guards guarding him, he's usually able to get by them and then drive and kick, lay it up on the rim. Again, has a great left hand when finishing around the rim too. That was something that stood out to me in the handful of games I watched. But he doesn't quite have that mid range, which again, to bring back the Halliburton comp, that's something that Halliburton actually has. He has the ability to stop, pull up, hit a midi, and that's part of what makes him so dangerous is because he is a true three-level scorer, whereas, someone like Mikel Brown didn't see a whole lot of mid ranges, at least again in the handful of games I watched. Maybe he did in other games and it looked clean. I don't know, but just based off of the stats, he didn't do it a lot and he didn't shoot that efficiently when he did. He also did have a bit of a turnover issue at 3.1 a game, and he did have some box scores with he was up to five or more, which is obviously not always a great thing to see. In his defense, when someone like him has the ball in his hands a whole lot, turnovers are just going to happen. It's a big reason why Trae Young, James Harden, guys like that are typically at the top of the NBA in turnovers per game. And even watching the tape, some of them are worrisome. He's trying to do a little bit too much. He's trying to split double teams, stuff like that. And then some of them are also just he's making the right read, but his teammates aren't necessarily up to that same game processing speed as him. So he just, throws it to the guy who's not in the right spot or, stuff like that. So I don't really think the turnovers are a huge issue. I understand they can be unflattering, but that's just kind of the push and pull when it comes to guards like this who are such high level playmakers that it takes a little bit of time for their teammates to just be on the same page as them because of the fact that they're just usually one step ahead in processing. And then, like most of the other guard prospects, there's always going to be defensive questions. Now, in Mikel Brown Jr.'s case, again, he's listed at 6'5". I don't know if he quite is 6'5", but he's also got a plus wingspan. He's decently athletic. He's got some burst to him. He has some leaping ability to him. As you see in some of these clips here, he had a nice chase down block. He's able to guard well from the perimeter. But if you put a bigger guy on him, he's gonna be able to take him to the rim. Will he be able to get picked on in a postseason setting? Probably, but again, that's just the case for all small guards. At the end of the day, I don't think he's going to be as big a negative as a few of the other guys in this draft class, which should help boost him up the draft boards at the end of the day. Overall, I think Mikel Brown Jr. is a very gifted prospect who should hit the ground running day one in the NBA. He's already a pretty polished player. He is, let me double check his age. I want to say he just turned 20 pretty recently. Yeah, he's listed at 20.2 years old on Draft Baller. So, a little bit older than some of the other guys in the lottery, but it's not a huge difference that I think is cause for any concern. I understand that there are not a lot of teams in the NBA right now that need guards necessarily, but I would, even if that were my case as a GM, I wouldn't hesitate to take Mikel Brown Jr. I really like his game. Again, I do think that there is a chance that he could have that sort of Halliburton-y, LaMelo-y effect on a team with how he loves to push the pace. He's always playing at a high speed. He pushes in transition. He pushes even when there isn't transition and creates opportunities for his teammates. He shoots a lot of threes as long as he's able to maintain that 3-point percentage and keep it at least at average for an NBA player. I think he's the exact kind of point guard that teams are looking for in the NBA right now. And as we return to my draft board, those are all of the reasons why we are going to slot him in right above Keaton Wagler and Darren Peterson at the 5 spot. Um, Again, it's a tough choice between him and Wagler. I think that Wagler's ceiling might be higher than Mikel Brown Jr.'s, but Mikel Brown Jr. at the same time has just shown so much more talent than Wagler that he's just more concrete at the end of the day. And I'm definitely gonna take another look at Darren Peterson at a certain point because listen, I know a lot of people love Darren Peterson. I know he's great, but Mikel Brown Jr. his tape did a lot for me. It made me feel a certain way, so I'm definitely gonna have to relook into that matchup there to see who I want at the number 4 spot at the moment. But lucky enough, Louisville actually had more than one prospect, unlike a certain other team we just talked about. Not to throw more shade at Illinois, but we can also add Ryan Conwell to our draft board. Now, with all that being said, Conwell will unfortunately be going to the bottom. Nothing against him, really solid player, but he is a bit on the older side at 22, as he was a senior this year. Really good wingspan, really good defender. Seemed to always just be in the right spot, making the right plays on defense. He can shoot the 3 ball, he can dribble a little bit. But outside of that, he just didn't really have any outstanding qualities to him. Again, nothing against him. If a team were to take a second round flyer on him because they liked him, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But at the end of the day, I don't think he's going to be anything more than like a bench role player, and that's okay. Now, the real gem to me is this guy right here, the Louisville starting center, Sananda Fru. Draft Baller isn't letting me put him on the big board for some reason, but we take a look at him. Again, he's on the older side at 22.8 years of age. He's 6'11. But overall, he just does everything as a big. He set really good screens on offense. He was a great roller, good in the short roll. Even if he had to put the ball on the ground, he could, do a little few dribbles here and there. Great with he had a couple of Euro step finishes at the rim, which is great. Had a good touch around the rim in general. Again, if I didn't say it, good passing in the short roll. And then on defense, he was playing drop, he was playing at the level, he was able to switch and hold his own on the perimeter for a little bit as he can move his feet pretty well. Solid rim protector, and he's a great rebounder. That was his real outstanding trait to me. Great on the defensive side of the ball. Always hit the glass on the offensive side of the ball and create a ton of extra possessions for Louisville, which is all the buzz in the NBA today. So unfortunately, I cannot place him anywhere on the board, at least from what I know. Maybe I'll have to do some digging into this website to find it later. But I would slot him in between Vassar and Conwell if I could, as Vassar just has a little bit more upside offensively. But Fru, if some team were to take him in the second round, I think he could be an impact big off the bench at the very least. But that's all I got for this one. Again, just to recap, Mikel Brown Jr., absolutely insane playmaker, probably the best in the draft, but I might be betting my words on that as I check out everyone else. Again, I think he's someone that could absolutely transcend an NBA offense into something special. And even if he can't do that, at the end of the day, he is a perfect starting point guard for today's NBA. He has size, he has athleticism, he is a great playmaker, as I've said time and time again. He shoots threes at will. All of those things come together to make a really good prospect. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, comment, subscribe, all of those good things, and I'll see y'all in the next one.